Welcome back to the Plays with Cars YouTube channel and another episode of Project Boxster. That's right, the Porsche's back. So, when we left off, we were at Performance Race Engineering in Portland, getting new suspension fitted to the Boxster and other maintenance done to it so that it was ready for a year of competition. That has all been completed. Car's home safe. Everything worked out fantastic. So as you saw, new control arms front and rear, all Porsche OE stuff, new CV axles in the back, so that everything was refreshed. It's a 20-year-old car with 140,000 miles. It needed some love. Got all that done, added the Coney Sport adjustable dampeners to it, because we're building it for SCCA solo or autocross competition in the C Street category. So we have to follow the rules for that, which are linked in the description below if you're curious. But one of those rules is you got to use the stock springs, which is why we didn't put lowering springs or performance springs on it. It's why we didn't do a coilover setup. But we got to build the car to class rules. And part of this whole build is kind of showing you what that means. So that's what we did. Car's all done. It's here. We got it all set up and aligned at PRE. Let me show you those numbers. So, any of you familiar with these early Boxsters know that they are very camber deficient, and that held true with this car. Negative 0.3 degrees of camber is all we could do on this, and that's with every trick in the book. Shaking everything down, loosening bolts, strapping it down tight, tightening them back up, tops of the struts all the way in. That's it. You can't get anything more out of this particular car. So what does that mean? That means the video earlier where we talked about possibly doing a sway bar shootout, not needed. We need front bar. This car needs front grip, and it's not going to get it with this amount of camber. So we're going to do it with a great big bar. And then if it doesn't rotate and we can't get it to rotate with air pressures, we will dial in some rear toe out. If you're familiar with Autocross, you know what we're going on about here. If you're unfamiliar with Autocross, let me explain a little bit. Your alignment specs is the tire in relation to the rest of the car. And each spec is a different way the tire moves. Basically, toe is the front of the tires pointing in or out relative to the center line of the car. Camber is the top of the tires pointing in or out relative to the center line of the car. And caster is kind of like the rotation of the suspension as related to the axle center line. You can go online. There's tons of deep reading on this. I'm not going to be very good at explaining it. Go check it out and look it up. But suffice it to say, because this car is a dedicated autocross car and not a do-everything car, we can do more stuff here. So, for example, we've got a 1/16 inch of toe out on either side. That means that the car is pointing with the tires pointed out on the front. On an autocross, that helps. On your initial turn in, the car's going to turn a lot sharper because the tires are kind of already pointed out. On a rear-wheel drive car set up for autocross, can't do that with this. The Cobra was a do-everything car. We drag raced it, we autocrossed it, we pro soloed it, we track night in America'd it, drifted it, daily drove it, all this stuff. At PIR, this thing clocked over 125 on the front and back straights on a track night in America. You don't want to do 125 with your front tires pointed out. The car's going to drive all sorts of spooky, like it's voodoo hexed or something, right? You want toe in. So this car was a big fat compromise. Like I always had to compromise on everything because I used it to do everything. We don't have to do that with the Porsche. The Porsche is strictly an autocross build. Now, I don't own a truck or a trailer. I'm not going to tow it to an autocross, which is why I went for street category as opposed to cam or prepared or modified or whatever. So it is going to be a street car, but we can do things with alignment. Like, because this car is never going to see a track, having that high speed stability isn't going to be a problem because it's never going to see north of 75 miles an hour. So if we can't get the car to rotate with the big front bar, we can dial in a little rear toe out to get the car to rotate around on its axis. We'll see when we get there. What we're going to do is the first event for the car we've already signed up for. It's with City Autosports out of Portland. We're going to do event number 1, Sunday, February the 24th at PIR, Portland International Raceway in the North Paddock. If you're local, come on out. If you're into racing, come race with us. If you're not into racing, come out and see us. It's free to watch. I'll put links in the description below so that you can sign up and all that stuff if you want to run. But they're a really great laid-back club. They've got their own rule set and whatnot. But 8 to 10 or 8 to 12-ish runs, depending, is what you can expect. So it's going to be a great big fat test and tune for this thing, because the following weekend, the first weekend in March, is the first and second points events for SCCA in Oregon region. And that's what we're building this car for. So we're going to use the BCA as like a test and tune for the car to get it set up for SCCA the following weekend. So that's our goal. We got about, 6.5 weeks, I think, between now and then. And we got some things to do to the car. Now that it's here in the home garage instead of at a pro shop, we can do our end of the bargain. We're going to go through all the fluids, oil, diff, transaxle. I don't even know if those might even be the same. We'll find out. Flushing the brake fluid, coolant. If it's a liquid, it's coming out of the car, right? We're going to put high-performance stuff in because you can do all that to the rules. We also got to do tires. We're going to put the Bridgestone RE71Rs on it. They're the best 200 treadwear tire right now, them and the BFG rival. But the Bridgestone has a little bit better sizing for what we need in the 18s. It works a little bit better with the lighter weight cars, and my buddy is a Bridgestone dealer. So hopefully I can get in there and get a little bit better deal with him and stick those on the car. So going to put tires on the car, going to do the front sway bar, and then we're going to do a bunch of little things. Those headlights, as we talked about in the first video, they're trash. They're all goopy and gnarly and destroyed inside. We've got brand new headlight units we're going to stick in. We got to nut and bolt the car, which is where you go through it with a torque wrench and actually tighten every nut and bolt to specification, because they rattle loose over 20 years, 140,000 miles. We're also going to clean everything up. These cars are pretty notorious for getting leaves and dirt and garbage and stuff caught up here in the ducts for the radiators and the oil cooler and whatnot. We're going to clean all that out, get rid of this stupid radar detector that's vampiring the power out of the battery. You're going to lose this broken, gnarly bracket that's ugly and stuff like that. We're going to go through the car end to end, make sure it's good to go, make sure it's ready to race. The other thing we're going to do is get rid of the phantom weight. Phantom weight is weight added to the car that's not actually the car. For example, Cobra is street driven with its sticky, stinking tires on it, and you can, pull rocks and dirt and garbage out of it at any given time. That's phantom weight. It's basically full of dirt and leaves and rocks and stuff from driving. So we're going to go through the Porsche. We're going to take off all the little plastic stuff underneath, clean everything out, put it all back together, make sure it's not hiding 10 pounds of crap in it. The other thing we're going to do is make sure that we have a system set up for it for when we get to the racetrack. Now, SCCA rules, you got to pull out the spare, which is in the frunk in this, and you can pull out anything that is loose, that doesn't bolt down, that could basically flop around while you're racing. So basically floor mats, trunk mat, right? So this thing has a mat in the trunk in the back, a mat in the frunk in the front, floor mats, the owner's manual, the toolkit, all those kind of things. They can all come out because weight is what matters with this car. Weight matters a lot because we are racing against the Indy Miata NC Street. And I got something here for you to show you on this car's weight. Come on. Sorry. Technical difficulties here. Here is 2953 pounds. Can you guys see that? I hope I can get that in focus there. 2,953 pounds, which is really good, actually. 55% on the rear. Fantastic, because it's within 100 pounds of the factory listed minimum weight. And that's with the car as it sits. I know for a fact there is a box of spare parts in the trunk, which is some weight. It's got a half tank of gas in it. It's got the owner's manual in it. It's got all the service records are inside the car. It's got the toolkit, the spare tire, all that stuff. We can take all that stuff out. We can get it down to a quarter tank of gas, and we are really, really, really close to minimum factory weight because this car has no options. Basically, our weight is in all of that stuff, the vampire weight, and the 18s. The 18s are the vast majority of that weight. That minimum weight, I guarantee you, is like the 16s that were, I think it was even 16s that were based on this car. They're a lot lighter than the 18s. So we did great. We picked the right Boxster to get if you're going to run a Boxster. It's got no options, which driving home in the rain without intermittent wipers was kind of annoying, but you know what? I can live with it. It does have cruise. The cruise worked great. All we need, I do need to change those wiper blades, but that's a completely different discussion. The car's light. We can get it even lighter, and then we can do things like change that rear exhaust can muffler that we showed you in the last episode. That thing weighs a ton. Anywhere we can get a pound out of this car, we're going to get a pound out of this car. Anywhere we can get an ounce out of this car, we're going to get that ounce out of this car, because 16 ounces is a whole nother pound, and we need every pound we can, because the Indy Miata weighs 2,332 pounds. Yeah, a little bit lighter. So these are all the specs when deciding to get this car. You can screenshot that if you want, or better yet, click the links below. I did this whole discussion online with a bunch of people that are way smarter than me on Grassroots Motorsports about what class to run and what car to run it in. Originally, I was looking at the Cobalt SS Supercharged in G Street because my dad actually owns one and I could get it super cheap, and it looked like a really good shot against the Focus ST, and then the new Civic Si dropped. And the new Civic Si basically matched all of the specs of the Cobalt, only had a better suspension and wasn't built by GM. So basically, it just wasn't the car to get. Started looking at other cars. C Street came up because they divorced the 986 Boxster from the 987. Now, what does that mean? The Cobra is married to all of the newer Mustangs. Every class that this car is legal for, newer, better Mustangs are also legal for. If it was near stock, we could run it in F Street, and we would be running against literally 2018 Shelby GT350s on the S550 chassis. It would destroy this car. E Street prepared, same story. C prepared, same story. Even in cam, it's the same story. It's stuck in cam C with all the contemporary cars, even though it's just a fat Fox body, and Fox bodies are in cam T with the old 60s muscle cars. This car will never make a good autocross car because you could always just get the newer Mustang that is better inherently from the factory and do whatever the same legal modifications are to that, and it will be faster. That's why we are stepping away from this car as an autocross car. The Boxster, the 986 Boxster, they divorced from the newer ones, the 987s and the... what are they now? Well, they're 718s now. I don't know if they had anything in between. But anyways, the 987s with PDK, Porsche dual clutch transmissions, they could destroy this car. They're in a different class. This is the only Porsche in C Street. So, well, I shouldn't say only Porsche. It's the only Boxster set up in C Street is the 986s. It doesn't have to run against its newer, younger, better self. So the only thing we really have to fight against is the Indy Miata. Now, granted, that is a super duper uphill battle, but at least I know I'm not going to get trounced by a 987 Porsche anywhere I go. Unlike the Mustang, where I'd get trounced by the newer Mustang anywhere I go. It's one of the reasons for making the car. And again, if you want the nitty-gritty details of this and getting into things like gear ratios and tire heights and fuel cuts and things like that, click the links below. Go read up on Grassroots Motorsports. Those threads tell you everything you need to know about why we chose this class and then specifically chose this car. Now that we are here, we've got the car, we started making mods, we know what our next steps are, and we know when our goal is. So we want to see you at the track, Portland International Raceway, in February on the 24th with Bridge City Autosports. We'll have the Boxster out there. In between now and then, in the next couple of weeks, we're going to bring you hopefully lots of content on this. Like I said, we're going to do the headlights, we're going to do the fluids, we're going to do the nut and bolting, we're going to do some other stuff to it, wash it, wax it, detail it, make sure, give it a livery, all that fun stuff, get it ready for racing. It's going to be a fantastic ride, and we really hope that if you're watching this, that you are enjoying what we're doing with the car and the channel. If you've got suggestions, if you've got things you want to see, please let us know. hit the subscribe button. We've got a playlist now for the Porsche project. There's also a playlist for the Cobra, and then also like Miniatures Mondays and all the other like regular videos. All have their own playlist now. So if you want to do the Porsche, like you could subscribe and then like go to the playlist and like just watch through the playlist of the Porsche stuff. But yeah, that's what we're bringing you, and we hope you really enjoy it. I know I'm having a heck of a lot of fun researching this car, building this car, driving this car. Driving it home is frankly the most miles I've put on it, and even though it was raining and dark and dealing with other drivers, I still couldn't wipe the grin off my face. I cannot wait to get this car out on track. It is going to be a ball, and I really hope you all enjoy watching these videos as much as I enjoy making them and driving the car, because this has been a really super fun time. So until next time, this has been Plays with Cars and Project Boxster.